Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel. Together, we're going to be diving into some stories of ordinary people doing a little bit of extraordinary things. People who've maybe pushed their bodies, their mindsets, or maybe society's paradigms. So you're going to find yourself maybe wanting to laugh, cry, or even be inspired. We would invite you to share, like, and subscribe, to sign up for our newsletter as well on activateandilluminate.com. Now, just keep in mind that this information that you are going to hear is informational and educational for entertainment purposes only. This does not constitute professional advice of any kind. The views expressed are those of myself and guests only. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional and legal advice regarding their own situations. So, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time, and thanks again for being here. Hey there, guys. So today, I am having something a little different. I am having an amazing conversation with my daughter. Now, my daughter is very intuitive. She has lots of different kinds of intuitive gifts, and I just wanted to have a conversation as a parent to her and maybe help some of you guys out there that have intuitive kids, maybe struggling with different things in your own life. And this was a little bit of a hard conversation for me to navigate, to be honest with you. But we talk about her spiritual gifts, we talk about intuition, we talk about boundaries, of which she has much better ones than I do sometimes. We talk about mental health, parenting, COVID-19 for this younger generation, her dreams interpreted. As we talk about so many different things. So you're going to want to tune in and see a little bit of a vulnerable side of myself and my daughter that hopefully you will get a lot of value out of. Hey there, guys. So today I am here with Kiara. Now, just a little side note, Kiara and I have known each other all of her life. Kiara's my daughter, my youngest daughter, and we are here today to talk about spiritual gifts, about intuition. Kiara has some gifts that, I maybe didn't know about as she was growing up. I maybe didn't do the best job as she was growing up. We're going to get into how people feel things like this, some of the different types of people and situations that these kind of gifts can help. We're just going to have a big old spiritual discussion on intuition. So, welcome, Kiara. This is my pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
So, tell us when you knew that you noticed things or could feel things that a lot of people didn't.
Honestly, it started pretty young.
And so, what would you notice?
Like intense feelings of, I guess my radar was always on for things that I could feel I didn't like. So that was intense. I could see different, I always remember seeing different spirits. I remember, and just a knowing of things that other people wouldn't talk about. Yeah, my intuition started very young. I would also have dreams about things that would happen quite soon after that. Kind of felt like deja vu, I guess, a little bit.
So, tell us how you have essentially you've turned this into a business and into a service for others. So tell us how you support people and what you can do for them.
I guess I'll talk a little bit how it started. I would have discussions with friends of yours or friends of mine, and they'd be asking questions and about, further life instances or, just needing advice. And I would always have the right words to say. We also started talking about following intuition, which I was learning at the time. You're always going to be learning it. It's a lifelong lesson, following your intuition. But yeah, so then I just started trusting my intuition a little more, and I'd branch out to other people, kind of getting trials for people, seeing what people liked, what people didn't like. And yeah, I just got more comfortable with it. And then I started taking bookings and exploring more with that.
So, what do you feel from people?
I'm very empathic, so a lot of times I can feel pain other people are feeling. I can feel emotions other people are feeling. So, say if someone had pain in their body, I would get an inkling to where that pain is. I might even feel it myself. I say thanks for the information, and then we work on it. It's just intuitive. I will. I never know what I'm going to do when we go into it. We just work on it how it comes up.
And like, just to give people an example, so one time I was at the dentist and I came home and Kiara looks at me. She was still living at home then, and she looks at me and she's like, Mom, you picked up so much fear from the dentist office. And it's like in your body. I can feel it. And so as soon as I became aware of it, she helped me clear it out. And I was like, oh yeah, I did pick up so much fear from the dentist office. But it was such a interesting awareness, even someone that's fairly intuitive and feels things. I didn't know, like walking around during my regular day, that I was picking up hits of fear like that, that you'd be able to feel like just like that. So tell us, when you feel things like that and you're out in public, what can somebody do to protect themselves or to alleviate the feeling of it and the effects?
It all comes down to boundaries and just claiming your own space, your own energy. So whether you need to say things out loud or in your head, either way works. Be very clear about what you're willing to stand for and what you're willing to let slide. So something as simple as I'm sovereign in my energy, or if you feel, a specific energy that you're not wanting, you could name it and ask for it to be taken. I do all of my work through source. Source can mean different things for different people. For myself, it's not so much religious, but it is spiritual to me. So yeah, it's through source, through guides, and you can ask those beings to help you take unwanted energies or feelings away as well.
So one of the things that I've always noticed about you is you have a very physical reaction when something's not right for you. Tell us tell us about that.
I do. Uh, so sometimes my vision will go wonky, which is kind of a pain. My stomach will start churning. Sometimes I'll get really tired. Yeah, I have very physical reactions. I'll get nauseous, and it's all my body telling me what's not right for me. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't.
Tell us about some of the times you haven't listened.
I would say some of my first relationships, I didn't listen. For example, like a first date I had. My stomach was so in shambles. I didn't even know if I could leave the house. I went on that date and sure enough, not the person I was meant to spend time around. I think though it's hard when, you don't know any better. You can use the tools you have at the time, and hindsight's 2020. So now that I know that, I know what to look out for.
So, how do you think I could have nurtured your gifts more?
Again, though, like you didn't know, or even if you did know, it's not like you could have magically adapted the skills to deal with it. It was new for both of us.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember being quite young and telling you that there were, spirits in houses that I was seeing across the street from us, or hearing things at night, and you never told me it wasn't real, which was helpful. Well, it is helpful because, as kids and as people who are in public schools, we're taught how to think and when to speak and what not to think about. And we often ignore all the gifts we have because we don't learn to think like that. We learn to stop thinking like that because it's imaginary or for any of those other reasons. So it was nice that you didn't belittle what I was feeling or seeing. And I think also it helped because you've experienced stuff yourself. Maybe not at quite young ages. I don't know. You and I have never talked about that. But yeah, I didn't think that you like destroyed my childhood by not knowing how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it either.
Fantastic. So, let here's the thing with you. So, I'll just fill people in a little bit. Kiara was born with with some definite vision issues, and she had a multiple of different surgeries and stuff as a child, and then as you got older, this you couldn't see properly for the first few years of your life at all. And I mean, even just recently, you've had some eye surgeries that have helped your vision tremendously.
Hmm.
But do you feel like having that impaired sight as a child contributed to having sight in other ways?
You know what? I do. And I've talked to other people who've had similar experiences. So, sometimes when you're lacking in something, you're gaining in others. I always remember grandma telling me that I was laying on the couch at like 3 years old praying for better vision. So it obviously had to start quite young. But I think that's another thing is I was just different from other people. My beliefs were different, my morals were different. I think I've always been connected and I don't think this is my first life. I know it's not. And it's not my first life with you as my mom either.
Yeah, we. I would suspect at times that you've even been the parent.
Well, that's the thing too, is usually the roles reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what would you say is the like when you think of some of the different people that you've seen and helped and regularly meet with and stuff, what would you say is the most impactful moment that you can think of?
The most impactful and probably the most empowering for myself, that I knew that I was making a difference was I was going to a chiropractic appointment and I met a lady in the waiting room. The chiropractor was running a little behind and I met this lady and she was in shambles. Her hands were on fire. She had rashes all over. She was like, I could feel the heat radiating off of her. She had just done a massage on another individual. She wasn't using any different lotions, anything like that. And I knew that, that energy didn't mesh with her and we had to relieve that immediately. So I asked her, like, if I could um, work on her hands. So I started holding her hands and my hands were on fire and I was sweating and um, I gave her my number and I told her she could call me after. She called me, she told me the swelling went down, the redness was gone, the numbness was gone, the itching was gone. She called me the day after.
Wow.
I was trying to think. I have another regular client who I connected with like very quickly. It was a friend of yours. Well, she is a friend of yours, and her and I talk every 2 weeks. And I found working with her has empowered me and inspired me, and we, work off of each other. We support each other. We learn together. Every time we have a session, I learn something new and she learns something new. And we just kind of work together to help and to create what we are destined for.
So in layman's terms, if someone's just needing support in their life, but they might not know that like this is something that you can support with, what would you tell people that you do? Like what can you do for them and what type of person can you help?
This episode brought to you by protandemcanada.lifevantage.com. What if you could turn on your body to work like it was supposed to? What if you could have it remember how to handle toxins, stress, and the environment like it used to when you were young? What if it worked for your pets too? What if this is not about supplementing something that is missing, but activating something that has gone dormant? About actually turning on your body to make these things again. Learn how to activate your body now. Check us out, protandemcanada.lifevantage.com.
I can help anyone who's open, anyone who's willing. Um, I'm not against helping anybody, but at the same time, you need to be open to, accepting the energy or open to experiencing things you might not be comfortable with. I would call myself an intuitive healer. I do have kind of mediumship gifts, but I don't think that necessarily defines what I do. Um, I think I'm just connected.
Do you think most kids now are a lot more connected than adults?
I think a lot are, yeah. And I think it's due to unresolved generational trauma.
In the adults?
in the adults, but the kids are, karmically dealing with it. Also, there's so much access to social media. So, I myself, I've run into a lot of energetic people or mediums or healers on TikTok, tarot readers, all that kind of stuff. And it's not quite as unheard of anymore. So I think that's helpful. But kids are way more in the know now than they were before. Yeah.
So, what would you say to young kids out there experiencing stuff that they might not understand and needing some support?
I would say if you feel comfortable, talk to your parents about it. And I would say just look into your feelings and explore them and know that you're not alone in those feelings. Know that you have control over your energy. You have control over your beliefs, and the light always will outshine the dark.
I think that's a pretty relevant message right now. There's so many different ways that we can go with this. So, let's talk about some of your experiences when you talked about mediumship, and let's talk about some of your experiences of death and how that has impacted you and your your abilities.
So I'd say we haven't had many deaths in the family per se, but I did experience a childhood friend had passed away due to pretty tragic circumstances. And I didn't even really know him super well, but I found myself super connected to his family and to his spirit. And so I had talked to a few different people about it, and I've had some pretty neat experiences. This one time I was looking at a lady I was talking to, and she was very well versed in the spirit world and dealing with loss and grief. And I was talking to her, and while I was talking to her, I could see his face and his eyes, and that was quite a connection. And then after, on my drive home, the song that played at his funeral was playing on my phone. I didn't have that song downloaded, so that was like very assuring that he was with me, and um if spirits want to tell you, they will. And then another one I've experienced more recently, still quite a few years ago, but I had lost a friend from college, also in a very tragic way. And I struggled with that one a lot. Him and I had connected. We had a very spiritual connection. We had talked about both of us as kids seeing different things and being able to hear things and just knowing things that other kids weren't realizing. Both of our intuitions were very strong. Him and I connected on that. We'd only known each other for about 6 months. That was a very unjust experience. But through his death, I learned a lot of things. Sorry. I know he's teaching me from wherever he is and looking out for me. And that just goes to show that after your life stops here, it doesn't stop everywhere else.
What did you learn from him?
To help everybody, to hug everybody. He's one of the main reasons that I believe in myself as much as I do energetically. I guess it's just important to remember that when we lose people, we just lose, the vessel that they're in physically, but their energy's never really gone. It doesn't leave us. We may feel it does at times, but it will always show us it's not gone, and we will see them again. I've witnessed, dreams. I've had very, very vivid dreams with both of them in it. I've had messages from both of them, from multiple people telling me they were sending people my way. And as unfortunate certain situations can be, we always have something to learn from them. We always have growth to achieve. Sometimes I think about, how little time I got with him, but we had that time together for a reason, and it taught both of us things that we couldn't learn anywhere else. I will never regret the time that I've experienced with people who aren't here anymore.
You feel like you're spiritually protected?
100%.
Tell us about some of your close calls.
I used to doubt. I used to doubt my protection a little bit, but it's when you doubt it that things will always happen. I think the most important thing to remember is your mindset. If you're positive, you're calling in positive energy and positive reactions and feelings. And if you're not, and you're stuck in your victim, then you're not calling in quite as positive things. Close calls. I would say I don't remember this one. You do. But as a kid, I guess I stopped breathing, um, because I was sick, being put under for surgery or for MRI or whatever that was. I've had some near-death experiences, um, just as a kid, quadding and, almost being ran into, or car accidents, and all of those times, you just find yourself grateful after such a close call, and you see the world a little lighter, and it's important to take that part rather than the negative part, which is, this happened to me and I'm upset about it. You could take this happened to me and this is what I've learned, and thank you for the lesson.
And I feel like some of the car accident issues and stuff, a lot of that.
That was wrong place, wrong time, wrong
Yeah,
people, wrong time.
yeah, and your energy at that point was being affected in ways that, was not positive for you, and you were outside of your own body a lot of those times. You
Yeah.
weren't in your own energy. And so I feel like you kept having those different experiences to kind of wake yourself up.
Speaking of outside of my body and a wake up call, I'm not sure if everybody has a point like this, but I definitely had quite the wake up call. And this was like another point where I was like, I was just telling myself I need to get my life together because it's a little more serious than I anticipated. And I knew I was being looked over. I knew I was being taken care of. Um, I was I didn't have the best high school experience in my hometown, and my mental health took quite the toll. And I wasn't really getting help from the therapists I was seeing or the people I was talking to. I don't believe in most pharmaceuticals. I don't want to be drugged on, things that take me away from me. But I remember laying in my bed and watching my body from above myself and how lifeless I looked. And I knew I just needed to push through it and life would get better. And it did. And I made the change and I moved schools. And here we are, happiest I've ever been with all the guidance I could ever ask for.
It's interesting thinking back in those times. It's hard to know how to parent children that are depressed, anxious, and having a bad time. What would you tell parents?
I'd say be open to tough conversations and try not to put the blame on yourself. I think a lot of the problem with depression and other mental health issues is that they're overlooked. And it's because the generation before doesn't quite believe in mental health the way that this one does. You know, they were a little bit more harsh about it. But it's not something we just get over. It's something we need to be helped through, and we need to be nourished. And you don't always have to know how, but you just have to trust the process.
What do you think happened to your generation going through, not being able to have a grad, going through high school throughout the COVID experience? What do you think are systemic issues in your kids your age right now? I mean, I shouldn't say kids, you're an adult, but, people your age right now because of that experience.
Well, suicide rates went up so much. Lack of mental health support is a huge problem. I think a lot of people I went to school with felt alone, and, a lot of people use school as a means to get out of their house and maybe to get out of situations they weren't comfortable in. And then having to be at home all the time and learning online and not having help. Uh, for some people, that was catastrophic. I think that, the world and the media has done a good job of, what do you call it? It's not as much of a stigma anymore. And there's more tools to be used. Yeah, I think we were alienated during that time. And we were kind of set up to not support each other.
You see that carrying through now in people's ability to maintain and create and nourish friendships?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think I think from that whole experience, a lot of people gained um more insight into how to maintain friendships and nourish friendships, and a lot of people really took the opposite route and just don't open themselves up to people anymore. And I think that society failed a lot of people during that time.
I agree. I agree. Tell us about your dreams.
A lot of my dreams I know are me doing work energetically while I'm sleeping. A lot of my dreams are warnings telling me to wake up, telling me to look around, and a lot of my dreams are based on trauma. Yeah, actually, that's interesting now that I think about it. Just some of the dreams I've had with you in them. I think that actually I know that you and I are dealing with a lot of generational trauma together. We're resolving it. We're sending it to light. And those dreams kind of woke me up. So, for example, I would have dreams where, I'm being attacked spiritually, and you say, "Oh, okay, good night." And then I'd talk about them with you after. And that's how we open up those harder discussions and, spend our energy um, in a positive way. And we heal those things that are, I guess, set in our brains for whatever reason. Yeah, my dreams have always been very real.
So when you talk about signs and dreams and stuff, tell us about that or tell us what you experience.
Sometimes I'll get whispers in my ear telling me certain things. I've had kind of paranormal dreams that have helped me actually a lot spiritually because I have figured out how to, interrupt the negativity and send it away. And then I don't have those dreams anymore. So it's created a lot of strength for me, knowing that even when I am asleep, I'm able to protect myself from darker negative energies, smaller vibrations. Yeah, I think honestly, I've had a lot of scary dreams, but they've all turned out to be tools.
Interesting.
I don't think our negative experiences are meant to be dwelled on. I think they're meant to be learned from. And we're meant to find knowledge. And I always think that darker or like that negative energy can be turned into light.
So what do you think your purpose is here?
I think my purpose is to help people who wouldn't necessarily get it elsewhere. I know I was put here to make a difference, to uplift people, to heal people, to lead people into their healing journey. I know I was put here to be a light.
Well, and that you are.
And it's not just because of my very pale complexion.
So what can you tell us about timelines? People talk about timelines and I mean, it's hard to kind of grasp the concept and understand it, but do you understand it?
I understand it for the most part. I understand my grasp on timelines, but everyone else is going to have their own grasp and understanding. A lot of my work I do in the Akashic records. So for me, that's kind of a place of abundant light that holds all the records for time, for your timeline, for timelines you've come across, for timelines you've lived as different. And I don't think any of the trauma that we've experienced in different timelines is something that can't be healed or navigated. A lot of the times in the Akashics, I'm going through other people's timelines and helping them kind of figure out where the healing needs to be, whether that's ancestral, whether it's generational, like generational as in, your mom or your grandma or whatever. I've helped people forgive their younger selves, their older selves for situations that have happened that are out of their control, taking away some of the guilt for different things that have happened in lifetimes, current or past. A lot of the Akashics is forgiveness for learning forgiveness for things that have happened out of your control. I know for myself, I've seen myself in other timelines, in other dimensions, and just kind of navigating the lives I've had in those instances. And, you know, if you're experiencing, let's say for myself, I've experienced a little bit of domestic issues in past relationships. One of the things I dealt with in the Akashic in the past on my timeline was domestic issues. So part of my is learning that I'm breaking the cycle and that that doesn't happen anymore because I've learned from it, and I'm bringing light to the situation, and I choose not to be affected by those things anymore. We're put in this life to learn what we didn't know in a past life, or, we're always, always, always breaking a cycle. And to make boundaries, boundaries are the most important thing I think that you will ever learn in your life. Energetic boundaries, boundaries with other people, boundaries in workplaces, everything. Everything requires boundaries.
It's so true. Like, I remember speaking at your guys' wedding, and talking about how you've actually taught me boundaries, and you have such better boundaries than I do probably now. Um, even though I'm 52 and you're 22, but you have a much better grasp of, and I would say that, like, in general, I have the ability to say no and I have the ability to stand up for myself, but in certain situations, you are just so much better at boundaries than I am. And yeah, so what would you tell people is a tool that they can use to discern boundaries and to create them if maybe they're struggling with that right now?
I mean, as easy it is to say, your intuition is the most important. And anytime I've ever followed my intuition, I've never been steered wrong. I think if you're having second thoughts about things, whether it be about going somewhere, about being involved with somebody, and you're having second thoughts, it's probably not the place for you to be. And that's okay. I'd also say if you're stuck in a relationship you don't want to be in, and you've talked to them about it, and they say they're doing their best does not have to be okay for you. Sometimes we are meant for people and sometimes we aren't, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I think I think a lot of people get stuck in situations because they think they won't find better or because they think that's what they deserve. But if you're feeling so negative in a situation, it's not the one that's meant for you. And it's hard to kind of break that mindset. But any of the situations that I've ever gotten out of in a hurry, I'm so grateful I did because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't know who I know. I wouldn't experience what I've experienced. And being stuck in situations holds you back from your potential. And I know that there's always a lesson in mistakes. I think a lot of people are embarrassed about having to leave situations fast. But I think all the power to you to know it for yourself and choose better.
Such wise words.
I probably come off as cold, but I've been called cold, but I just know that situations I was in were not doing me any good and they were holding me back and letting in negativity, and I knew I wouldn't be struggling anymore if I didn't make those decisions. And you're given one life, so you might as well try to enjoy, you know, one life here for sure. You might as well try to enjoy its highest potential.
Who do you want to work with?
I just know that whoever is drawn to me is meant to work with me as long as I feel it's a positive interaction. I want to work with, people who may just need a little extra guidance, people who've lost loved ones, people who, if you're open to energy and you're open to healing and learning and growing, um, I'm open. I've never turned away people in need unless I feel like it's harmful to myself. That's something I learned fast too.
Yes, you did. Is there anything else that you want to share with people?
I think a lot more of us have gifts than we realize. And if you feel you're different, look into it. Sit with yourself, meditate, ask people you know. I think a lot of gifts are being wasted. I also think a lot of people with um, extreme personality disorders are also just very open to energy, and the veil may just be thinner. So, for example, schizophrenia. People think you're talking to something that isn't there, but they don't know you may be talking to a spirit, right? I think it's important to give yourself grace, and if you know something, you know it. So, stop second guessing yourself. Trust your intuition.
How do you want people to connect with you?
Um, People can, text me or email me.
All right. And we'll have those in the show notes for certain. I just want to say that you've always joked since you were young that you basically raised yourself and parented yourself. And in some ways, I'm sure people listening can see why. Like, she really does have this innate sense of knowing that at times, it's hard to know what to do with. But it is a absolute gift and a privilege to be able to be your mom. And to anyone that is thinking about this or that this is resonating with, I will tell you that I have had different people in my life experience such profound things from working with Kiara. Well, Kiara, this has been an honor and my privilege. And this has been a little bit, I guess I felt a little vulnerable posting you out there for the world to see. But I honestly, want everybody to be able to have these conversations and hopefully support the people that they have in their life that are experiencing these things, but also to be able to learn from other people that are, because I know that you have brought tremendous value. So thank you.
Thank you.